let's say I have an array and it has numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, right? So what I want to do, I want to actually print all the numbers which are even numbers from this array. So traditionally what we do is I can do for let I is equal to 0, I less than array dot length, I plus plus, and then I'll say if array of I mod 2 is equal to 0, I'm just going to print it, right? We'll just run it. It should print all the even numbers from this array, right? But to write this, we have to actually initialize one variable I. We have to know the length of this array, and then we have to extract it like this, right? But the other way to write it is using forEach, right? So to use forEach, you can just say array dot forEach and pass ELE, right? Element. So element, I'll explain it once I write it. So this is an arrow function. And then say console if ELE mod 2 is equal to 0, console log ELE. See, this is also printing all the even numbers, right? But can you see like it's very concise compared to the previous one, the traditional one? Here we are creating one variable, then we are checking for length and everything. But here we are just saying for each element in this array, do this, right? Check if it is a even number. If it is a even number, print it. So ELE basically is it takes one element at a time. It's an element, current element, right? It's like one first and then like 2, 3. What to do now is I want to extract all the even numbers from this array into another array, right? So what I can do, I can run this for loop over every element. And if it is a even number, push it to the other array, right? Then say console log array 1. And let me remove this code for now. Let's run it. So my array 1 has all the even numbers, right? Now let's say I want to use forEach for this. We can do the same thing with forEach. Say I'll create another array. Array 3 is equal to, and here also I can do this. I can just add array 3 dot push ELE. Just change it to array 2, print it. So this also works the same way, right? But there is actually another way to do this, and which is very concise compared to what we have done, right? So that is using map. Okay. So now this is traditional approach. So we can say for each. And now we are going to write the same code using map function. Okay. So in map, what happens? You can actually create an array. Let's say array 3. Then say array dot map. Okay. Then for each element in the array, do this. So what you need to do, just return if it is even number, right? If ELE mod 2 equal to 0, return ELE. Then put console log array. Run it. Okay. Yeah. So I'll explain what this issue is. So this is not actually the right use case. So what is happening? You can see it is returning even numbers, but wherever we have odd numbers, it is returning undefined. So what happens with map function is for every element that it is processing, it has to return something. If it doesn't return, here only if we encounter an even number, we are returning, right? But if there is no even number, we are not returning anything, right? So that's why it is printing undefined. So if you want to solve this, probably you should add another return here. If we are not returning even number, let's say I'm returning -1, something like that. I'm just making it up. So then it will, wherever there is odd number, it will print -1. Wherever there is even number, it will print that even number, right? So let me change this use case a little bit. So instead of extracting even numbers, I want to multiply every number in this array with say 2, right? So what we are going to do? So in the first approach, traditional approach, I'm saying array into 2, right? So in for each also, we can do the same thing. Array 2 dot push ELE into 2. Then let's run this code first. Okay, let's run it. We can see like every element in this array is multiplied by 2. Any questions so far in these two, traditional approach and for each?
No.
So now let's write the same with map. So map basically returns an array, right? So I can just directly define const array3 is equal to map, the array.map, and then for each element, do something. So for each element, return ELE into, right? So then, so log array3. So this is also working the same way, right? Now we are not seeing any big advantage right now, right? So forEach is also having 3 lines of code and map is also having 3 lines of code. But because there is just 1 line of code here, we can actually just say, I can remove all this. I can directly write it here, right? So I can directly write ELE into 2. That's it. Just 1 second. I'm not closing it. See, I was able to do whatever we are doing here or here with just 1 line of code, right? Making sense to everybody? How map works. We'll take more examples. So map basically, it will take every element, it will process it, and then add it to array itself. Okay. Whereas forEach just processes the elements. It doesn't create an array or anything. So if you want, you can create another array outside of it and add elements to it. So if you are just processing elements in an array, you can go with forEach. But if you want to create another array, it's better to go with map. Okay. Any questions so far? Can you guys hear me?
Yep, no questions.
Okay, no questions. So now let's take some complex examples. These were very simple examples, right? So these were working fine with simple. Let's say we'll take something a little bit more complex. Okay. So let's say I have an array of products. Okay. Products equal to. So this is an array. So I have to define it like this array. And it has multiple products. Let's say it has ID 1 and then say name laptop. And we have another property. It's a price. Is some. Right. So I'll create multiple products. 800. And then we have another product. Okay. So something like this. So there is an array of products. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to apply discount to each of these products. I want to apply 10% discount, right? So what I can do, I can create another array. So I will say discounted products equal to products dot map for each element. Do this. Return an object. Basically, for each we have to return an object and say dot 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 ELE, comma, price is going to be price, current price into 0.9. Okay. So basically, we are giving 10% discount. Okay. So yeah. So ELE dot price. So are you understanding what I'm doing here? So what is this line doing? Just this part.
Extraction and multiplication.
Yeah. So let's run this. So basically, it is copying all the elements from one element, right? ELE means one record or one object, right? So it is spreading one object, right? Dot 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 is the spread operator, and then it will just copy everything. Dot 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 ELE is copying everything, and then we are overriding the price. Price is going to be whatever is the price into 0.09. So basically, it's 90% of whatever is the value, right? So let's print it now. So dot log products. I'll just print products first. And then see what is happening. So this is the original array, and these are the price 800, 599, so on, right? So then this is the discounted array. Can you see the price has changed for every element, every object, right?
Yeah.
So this has become 720, this has become 360, 255, 225, right? So just let me know if this is not like you're confused about this. What is happening in this just one line of code? Especially this part of the code. We discussed this in the last class, like what that dot does. So this is basically copying the element, which is the current element. So map is going to take one element at a time. It will take this one first, then it will take this one, then it will take this one. So for each element, copy the element and then update the price and then return it. So this return basically adds that product to this discounted products. So for every element, it is going to return, right? Any questions there? This is very important to understand because we will be using it a lot.
So Vijay, one unrelated question regarding this. So when you do this particular map operator and you do this, it creates another object within the heap, is it?
Yes. So this will copy the element.
Is there
This
any
dot
way,
will copy the element.
Is there any way wherein we can just override the products with this particular one, like how we do it? Just manipulate the data without creating a duplicate of it.
Yes, we can do that. So for that we can use forEach, right? So I'll say products dot forEach. So in this case, I'll pass again, not like this. ELE. So for each element, just do this. ELE dot price is equal to ELE dot price into say 0.8. Yeah. So now let's remove this code for now. Then segment. So dot log products. Missing something. Yeah. See? So it has updated. The original products was this. So before running this, I will print it here. So before running this for each, these are the values, right? And after the for each, this is the value. And in this case, it didn't create another array. It just updated the values in the same array. Right. So let me add this code back. Where is that code? I don't have it. So let me write it again. So what I was doing, I want to create another array. It is and I don't want to impact the original array, right? If I want to change original array, I can use for each, right? So that's very straightforward. Then, sorry, what I'm doing is equal to products dot map and extract each element from it. And for each element, do this return dot ele price is ele dot price into point. Then let's just console log this. And let's also console log products. So I'm just writing the previous code, whatever I had. What happened?
Console spelling E.
Yeah. Okay. So any questions so far? So now we have just one line of code, right? Can we still reduce the number of lines? Let's try. Okay. So I'll just take this and I'll remove all of this. Just 1 second. For each ELE, return this.
One more bracket is missing after line 9.
After line 9. Yeah, correct. Yeah. That's weird. Just one moment. Past format parameter. Okay, so let's do one thing. I just want to check this yearly. This is working. Yearly, let's say, show this dot yearly. Maybe with this it doesn't work. Okay, so if we are just returning some value, it will work. Maybe the copy, we are trying to copy the element, maybe that doesn't work, right? So maybe we just have to put this, or what it is doing. Maybe this is considering it as function call, right? Because this also has a curly brace, so that's causing the issue, right? So we generally write like this. So we are writing this, and then inside this we are returning. But if I am just writing this, right? So if I am just writing dot ele, so these curly braces are getting confused with whether these are curly braces for the function or for the creating new object. So that's the confusion there. Okay. So in this case, we'll just write this one. Okay. So return dot ele, comma, whatever, right? Price to. Okay. So you can write it using other approach also. You can use forEach, but in that case, you will have to create an array first, right? And then you will have to loop through it, and then you will have to push into it, all of that. It's very, it will take 4 or 5 lines of code. But here we are just able to do it in just 3 lines of code, right? Any questions so far? Okay. So now let's say I want to make a little changes here. So the change is basically I want to apply discount only if the price is, let's say, even. And if it is odd, we are just going to return the same price. So in that case, what we can do, we can just say if ele dot price mod 2 is equal to 0, then return this. Else, just return product.
Run ELE, right? Or
Yeah, ELE, sir. Correct. Yeah. So can you see, like, only the discount is applied for the even prices. This 599 is coming as it is, right? But what happens if I don't put this return here?
You should get that undefined.
Yes, correct. So this is one mistake we generally do. We miss this return here. We are conditionally returning something, and if we don't return, let's see what happens. For the second product, it is returning undefined. So the learning from this is we should always return something from the map. For every element, we should return something. If we don't return, it will return undefined, right? So this is the right way to write the code. So we'll have to return something because we are conditionally returning, right?
Vijay, one question.
Yeah.
What would happen if you just write return ELE?
It will just return the product. It will not change.
No, not there. Sorry.
So you are saying, okay, let me just hear.
Yeah.
You are saying,
yes.
Yeah, this will also work. No issues with that.
Yeah, I was just thinking, is
So
a spread
the thing
operator
is
required?
So basically why I added spread operator is I didn't want to refer to the same objects here. So this is basically reference to object, right? So when I'm
Yes.
creating discounted products, I want to create different set of products. So that's why I used this dot ele. It will copy the products like these elements from here. If I don't do this, what happens is in products also, the second element is referring to this one. And I'll show you what I'm saying in a moment. So this is reference to this object, right? Whatever object it is, right? So now what happens? Say I want to change something. I copied this, and then I'll say discounted products of say 2 is equal to so this is this, and then dot price is equal to 100. So it changed only here. That's where it should change in both places. For each element, we are just returning that element. This will return the reference. Oh, I'm changing the other one. Just 1 second. You see what happened?
Yep.
So I wanted to change only the discounted products price to 100, right? Second element here, the index one. Only for the discounted price, I wanted to change it. But can we see like it changed the original array also?
Yep, got it.
So because this is just the reference. So when I add reference to both arrays, it's the same object it is pointing to. If I change it anywhere, it would change the original array also. So if I don't want to change it, there is nothing wrong with this. But if I don't want the original data to change, I'll just copy it. So now it will only change here. It will not change here, right? So it only updated here.
Understood.
Everybody understood this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And also this one, right? So what happens if I remove this return? Okay, here it is saying this line is throwing error. So let me remove this. Just remove this. See, it is returning undefined. This is one of the mistakes that we generally do. We only return for one condition. For other condition, we kind of assume it would work, but it would throw and it will be undefined. Okay. So now let's say we want to do one more thing. I just want to extract all the prices from this array, right? I want to just get the list of array of prices like 800, 599, so on. So in that case, what we can do, we can just say this return just ele dot price. And let's say this is this list. It created an array, new array with only the price values, right? I'm not returning everything. I'm just returning one field value, right? This actually will work. If I copy this and I say this one, then it should actually work. Just 1 second, I missed a bracket. This we could write with just one line because there are no curly braces here, right? So that's why. Any questions? Everybody understood map and forEach?
Yeah.
So what is the difference between map and forEach? Anyone?
If you're using forEach, you ideally have to declare another array. But if you're using a map, whatever you are assigning it to, that obviously becomes a different array.
Yeah, correct. And if we just want to process the array itself, we don't want to create another array, use forEach.
forEach, yeah.
Cool.
But I think using products.map, if you don't use a spread operator also, it will behave similarly, right?
If you don't use spread operator, it will behave the same way. It
Yes.
will update the same array.
Correct.
But it will create a new array, right? So the map will
Because
return.
yes.
Yeah. But you can do this. Products is equal to this, and it will assign back to the same array itself. So
Understood.
that kind of an workaround for each. We generally don't use forEach that much. Map we use for everything, almost for everything. Okay.
Since we have different ways for writing the same, whatever is required to get the same output, we have different ways of writing it. Is there any performance benefit if we use one over the other, or all of them result in the same time for execution?
In the background, it actually takes the same, it does the same thing. It loops over every element and does the same thing. Only thing is it's writing, like number of lines will become less. That's
Got
it.
it.
Easy to read, easy to kind of maintain also. Okay, cool. So now let's move to the next function. So the next function is push. Anyone knows what is push?
Insert.
Yeah. So it will basically just insert element. Where does it insert in the array? So it basically inserts at the end, right? So if I say 4, basically it's added one element. But if I want to add multiple elements, I can do that also in just one line. Okay, I want to add 5, 6, 7, 8. So this array now has 8 elements. So I can add one element or I can add multiple elements in one go. Right? Any questions? Sorry. So then there is one more function called pop. So what should pop do? If push is inserting, pop will
Removing.
Yeah.
Remove the last
So it will
element.
basically correct. So it will basically remove the last element. So far our array has 8 elements. So let's run it. So now this array doesn't have 8, right? And in this case, it actually only pops one element at a time. So if I pop again, so here we removed 8, and in this case we removed 7 also, right? One element from the end. Okay. Any questions on push and pop? Those are very simple functions. So now let's understand one more function. That function is called find. Okay. So this is my product array, and I want to find if there is any product in this array whose price is less than say 400, right? So then I can use find. I want to just find any element, any array, not array, any object basically, right? So let's say const for double product equal to this products dot find. What I want to find is ELE equal to dot price less than 400. Okay. Can you see like it found one element in this array whose price is less than 400. So if this record was between somewhere here, right? So the difference between the previous one and this is once it finds this, it will not iterate through rest of the elements, right? So it is trying to find just one element. If this element is at the end, right, then it has to iterate over all the elements, right? So we have to iterate over every single element. But if it finds, the moment it finds, it will just break from it, right? It will exit. So if it is in between somewhere here, so it will check the first one. Second one, you found the element, it will return. So it is just looking for one element which is matching the criteria, right? So I can change like if I want to know any element greater than say 800, so I just change the condition, right? Any questions on find operator? Find method basically, not operator.
Can we control the return? Like instead of returning the whole row, can you return just the name in find?
Yeah. No, it will return the element itself.
Okay, we can't start like a function inside that, is it? Like
No.
okay.
If you have it as a multi-line function, you still can't do it which way?
You can print it, but
yeah,
you will have to return the product itself, right? Or let's try. Maybe it will work, right? So if I have it multi-line, maybe it will work. Why not?
Yeah.
Is greater than this, then return ELE dot say name. So just trying, not sure what happens. Still returned
It
the
worked.
element itself.
Oh.
No, it returned the entire element,
Yeah,
not return. So it's just checking for this condition. That's it. The moment this condition is met, it is just exiting because it is finding true here. So it is looking for true, right? So if I just say true, it should return the first element.
Yeah.
It's returning the undefined. Maybe even before iterating, it is finding this. I don't know. So basically, it's looking for some condition to match, and if it matches, then it will return the element. That's it. Okay.
Right.
So this is find. So this will just look for one element, right? So there is one more function which is called sum, right? And this actually, what it does is, if there is a product matching the criteria, then it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Okay. Say ELE dot price less than, say, in this case, say greater than 2000, and as product. So in this case, it would return false because there is no product in this which has value greater than 200, right? But if we say greater than say 400, yeah. So it will just return true. It will find one element. The moment it finds one element, it will return. If it doesn't find, it will go through every single element and finally it will return false. Okay. So the difference between sum and find is sum will return a Boolean, true or false. Find will return the element itself, right? And in both cases, the moment it finds the element, it will stop iterating. Any questions?
There's only one variation of find, right? Like we can't fetch all which is matching, right? Like find all in other.
That's a good question. So we cannot do it with find. We can use this filter. Yeah. Let me change it to say products. And now all the products having price less than 400 should return. Right now there is only one. Let's say I change this to 800. So these are all the products where price is less than 800. So now I want to do the traditional approach. Let I is equal to 0, I less than products dot length I plus plus if products of I dot price is less than 800, array dot push product of I. Right, and then we can print it. So can you see the difference? Like these many lines of code we have to write. Let's run it. What just happened?
Price spelling is wrong. Line 11.
Yeah. So it is doing the same thing, right? But we had to write so much line of code. This here, just one line. But if there is a complex operation that you want to perform, then it will take multiple lines. But for just checking one condition, we just have to write this much, right? So is the filter function clear to everybody?
Yep.
So just filtering and returning those matching elements. That's it. So now let's understand one more function. The function is called slice. Okay. So let's say we have an array and array of, let's say, animals. And then one is joining. So we just have an array of animals. And from this array, what I want to do is I want to extract only certain elements, right? Then I can actually use slice. So slice basically takes 2 parameters. It can take like this array dot slice. Then it can take start index and end index, right? So basically it will return the elements between these two indexes. Okay. So now let's do this. The console dot log animals dot slice 2, say 4. So basically what it is saying is start at this index and stop before this index. So start at second index and stop before fourth index. So it is returning these two elements, right? But if I want to say return all the elements after this index, then I just have to pass one parameter. Just specify start index. Don't say end index. So then it will return starting with this index, all the elements, right? There is one more way to write this. So if I want to get last 2 elements, then I can just say -2, start at this index. So it is second element from the end. So I want to just say get all the elements, but exclude first element and last element. What should be the condition? Like what should be the indexes I should pass? I want to get all these elements, only exclude the last two.
1 and -1.
Yes. Come on. So it is returning everything. It is excluding starting at this index and like end before the last element. Okay. So this is splice. Any questions? Any doubt? So now let's understand one more function, and that function is called splice. Okay. So splice function actually takes how many parameters? It can take many parameters. Okay. So it can basically take start index, and then it will take one more element called number of elements to delete, right? And then you can add element to add. I can add multiple elements. Basically. So I'll explain what this is in a moment. So basically what this function, how this function helps is, if you want to modify the array such a way that you want to remove certain elements and add certain element at the same time, right? Let's say the animals dot splice start at second index and just say 2. So this is delete 2 elements starting at 2. Okay. Just run it. So can we see like it only now has after second, no. So starting at 2, it deleted 2 elements. Lion and goat is deleted, only sheep is there, right? So starting at second index, delete 2 elements, right? So now let's say I want to delete 2 elements and I want to also add something else, right? So I want to add XYZ. So starting at second index, it deleted 2 elements and added in that place, it added XYZ, right? Or I can add multiple. Say I want to add PQR also. And to also add ABC. So starting at second index, delete 2 elements and add these 3 elements, right? So if you want to do it with normal approach, you can imagine how many lines of code we need to write, right? So we need to go to a particular index, delete those elements, then add the elements, all of those things. But if I don't want to delete anything, I can just say starting at second index, don't delete anything, just add these elements. Okay. So and tiger, and starting at second index, it is adding these elements. But if I want to add it at the end, probably you can do this. Animals dot len. So now it is adding at the end 3 elements. Okay. So now this is working like push function only, not very different. But if you want to add in between, then it is very helpful. I want to add it starting at the third index, then it is very helpful. And at the same time, I want to delete it. I can delete also. I want to delete 1 element or 2 elements, whatever. So everybody understood what is the use of splice function?
Yes.
Okay, good. So just one line, right? Doing a lot of stuff. So now let's understand one important function. This is actually very, very useful. This function is called reduce. Okay. So suppose we have an array like this. Just one second. Array is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So we have an array and I want to calculate sum of all the elements in this array. So generally what we do, we create let sum is equal to 0 or I let I is equal to 0, I less than array dot length I plus plus, and then we'll say sum is equal to sum plus array of I, and then finally we can print console log sum. So this will basically add all the elements here and just print it. Like this is the traditional way, right? And suppose we don't have them in order also. Say we have 3, 2, 5, something like that. Okay. So we are basically calculating sum of all the elements and printing, right? But with a reduce function, we can do the same thing very efficiently. Okay. So what happens in reduce function is we can say const array dot reduce. Again, for each element, it will do something. Okay. So it will take two parameters. One is element itself, and there is something called accumulator. So sum, we want to collect sum, and then for each element, return sum plus yearly. Okay. So it will return into this. And what is the start value? Sum is initialized to 0. So we can also specify that. So this. Oh, let's print. Let's make it sum 2. Actually, we have sum already there. Sum 2. Okay. Sum 2 is equal to this. So this is. See, this is also doing the same thing, right? So here we are initializing the initial value of the sum. And then we are saying for every element, keep on adding to this sum. This is called as accumulator. Okay. So it will keep adding the elements value to sum and finally assign it to sum 2. Okay. Can we say again, this is a concise way of writing this code. Here we have to initialize, we have to know the length, then we have to do all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, let me write like how this looks, the definition of it. So basically array dot reduce. So it will have two parameters. Okay. One is called accumulator. And second one is the element itself, current value, current element. Then for each of these elements, return accumulator plus current elements value, right? And initial value is whatever you want to pass. Yeah. So this is how the function is. These are the things happening in the function. So there is an accumulator. Its initial value is this. And then for each value, add it in the accumulator and return. Okay. So let's say I want to change the initial value. So initial value, let's say not 0, some 40. Right? Here also I put 40. So both should return the same thing. 54, 50. Okay. So this was for simple thing. So we can also use this function for array of objects. Right. So let's do that. Before that, let me know if there are any questions in what we have written. Okay, cool. So now let's do the same thing on an array of objects. Okay. So let's say we have this array, products array. And what I want to do is I want to calculate sum of all the prices. Okay. Whatever prices we have, I want to just sum them up. What we can do, const sum is equal to products dot reduce. So we have to pass one accumulator. Say this is called temp, let's say, and yearly. So yearly in this case will be an object, right? Then temp return temp plus yearly dot price. And I have not specified the initial value. So initial value is 0. So it just added all the prices from my products. Okay. So is this clear to everybody? It's very important. This reduce function is very, very useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So those are some of the important array functions, right? So if you know those, I think you will be able to write most of the code in AWS.